This is video of Netanyahu just a few days. This was what, November 26th or something? Just a few days before the Hamas attack. Just a few days before this portion of the Israeli genocide began. Just a few scant days before, Netanyahu was in front of the UN showing a map of the Middle East that where he had completely purged Palestine and Palestinians from the world. So this will just take a second. Now, he's talking about like economic opportunities and stuff, but he holds up a map where you can clearly see
the whole Middle East change.
Sorry, you can clearly see that he has created a map with no Palestine and no Palestinians. And for those of you listening to the podcast, he's holding up a map of the Middle East with Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Egypt, and some other countries in green, Jordan in green, Israel in blue, and there is no Palestine. It doesn't exist. There is no West Bank. There is no Gaza.
Whole Middle East changes. We tear down the walls of enmity. We bring the possibility of prosperity and peace to this entire region, but we do something else. You know, a few years ago, I stood here with a red marker to show the curse, a great curse, the curse of a nuclear Iran.
For those of you, most of you probably remember this. I hadn't planned to show you this, but now I realize I have to show you this. Most of you remember this. Netanyahu got up in front of the UN and several years ago and held up a Wile E. Coyote image of a bomb. I'm not kidding, like the little cannonball with the fuse on it, and drew a red line where he said Iran was at creating their Wile E. Coyote bomb. He took a big red marker. This is him in front of the UN with his Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote bomb. Drew a red line where he said Iran was, in terms of, now his point is getting a nuclear bomb. This is how close he says Iran is to getting a nuclear bomb. It's about to happen. It's going to happen. Iran's going to get a nuclear bomb, and that's proven by this Wile E. Coyote drawing I made, which is just, this is an insane person. This is, you look at this, it's just utterly insane human being. So he did that. Now, of course, that did not happen because all of that was bullcrap designed to allow for an invasion and economic war against Iran. The economic war has happened, causing a lot of hardship in Iran, and it's to turn the world against Iran. And of course, that's all in the interest of Israel and the United States. So Netanyahu did that, and the U.S. does it too. The whole, they're going to get the bomb. Look at this red line I just drew right here. But you'll notice Iran does not have a nuclear bomb. And Iran is not trying to get a nuclear bomb. That's never been their aim. But it's useful in order to allow for economic war, etc. So, if anything, Netanyahu's moment where he did that, where he drew the red line several years ago, proves that he's an idiot and that he's wrong, because he was wrong about it. Now, you'd think he wouldn't want to mention that moment again. You'd think he wouldn't want to mention the moment he said, hey, everybody, they're getting a nuclear bomb, and then they didn't, because it seems kind of WMD-ish. Oh, my God, they're going to hurt us, and then they don't. So you'd think he would never want to bring that stuff up again. And instead, here he is bringing it up again.
But today I bring this marker to show a great blessing, the blessing of a new Middle East between Israel, Saudi Arabia, and our other neighbors. We will not only bring down barriers between Israel and our neighbors, we'll build a new corridor of peace and prosperity that connects Asia through the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, to Europe.
So he draws a big red line across the whole thing, but you'll notice that what he threw in there, tear down the barriers. This is the guy in the country that have built massive barriers, massive fences and walls in to stop Gazans from being able to escape, to make sure they remain in an open air prison, even though that's not a border. Gaza, that's not supposed to be a border, because Gaza and Palestine are not have not been given state status, national status. So it's not a national border. So they built a wall and a fence in order to cage them in, and they're now killing as many as they can. Like I said, well over 3,000 children alone. By the way, Gaza is 50% children. It's 50% under 18. So you have an area, a tiny area of the world. And the other thing I'm going to get to in this hour, couple of important things I'm going to get to in this hour, some history of Gaza and the reality there that our mainstream media doesn't cover. But also, Ralph Nader has a great 10 questions that should be posed by our media that, of course, will never be posed. Anyway, those side notes. He talks about tearing down barriers. This is the country and the man who have created a massive barrier in order to wall off Gazans from the world, in order to keep Palestinians in open air prison, where they aren't allowed to have things like clean water, 24-hour electricity, much of the gas and medicine they can't get in. Anyway, so I wanted to bring this to you as a point that he held up a map where Gaza was eliminated 2 weeks before the Hamas attack. And now he and his military are basically wiping Gaza off the map